Yeah, make sure how's lighting? I got good.
Oh yeah, everything looks good, sounds good. Yeah.
All right,
Perfect.
that's awesome. And I don't have to have this background. I was messing around. Here, I'm in Jurassic Park now.
All right, cool.
I'm in Vegas. We were talking about Tupac's murder
Oh
or
yeah.
assassination, I should say.
Okay.
And but now let's see. Let's get a good. Oh yeah, how about none? Here you go. This is my place.
Your place looks better than most of those pictures you sent me.
That
So yeah, welcome back to Zombie SquadCAST. And this episode, I have Jason Nunez. Did I get that correct?
is correct, man. How you doing,
Awesome.
Glenn?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm pretty good with names. So me and Jason have worked together on a numerous amount of episodes of crime shows that are shot
Endless
here.
amounts.
Endless
Yeah.
amounts, maybe 30 different shoots. I don't know, but it seems like every time I'm called in to play a cop or a detective, some sort of FBI agent, every
Yeah.
other shoot I show up, you're like the AD, the first AD, or the
Yeah.
associate producer, something like
Yeah.
that. So that's how me and Jason know each other. Numerous crime show shoots, crime show productions, all those various crime shows on ID, or more particularly maybe copycat killers on reels.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jason, if you don't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, and what you've been up to.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, thank you for having me on, man. It's a pleasure. I've known you for a while now.
Right.
For you, like you said, man, going on. I mean, what 4 or 5? I worked with you from the beginning, from when I started, like in production. When I remember seeing you when I was just like a PA, just grabbing waters and coffees, and like that was
So
it.
so what year would you say you started?
I guess about 5 years, like
So
2014, 2015.
okay.
I started. How long have you been in the
Well,
business?
I've been doing production maybe 15, 14 or 15 years.
Okay, great.
And so I graduated with a bachelor's in film and TV in '04. I worked at Discovery Channel for a little bit in Silver Spring, maybe 3-4 years there, then broke out full-time freelance. But I'd say I started acting. I broke out into acting, kind of just added that to the list of things to do as a full-time freelancer. But I started acting in 2015, so that makes a lot of sense. If I started acting in 2015, and maybe you were PAing and then working your way up to ADing in 2014 and 2015, that makes sense.
Yeah, that whole for my first year, I did just PAing, and then I grew up here in the DC area, and after just I was managing a catering company while doing stand up. So I also do stand up in DC,
Okay.
and I kind of got tired of the catering company. It was only because it took away my nights, and for stand up, it's all about night. All these
Okay.
shows are at nighttime. The earliest they start is 7, 8 o'clock. So that's like
The stand-up does.
the stand up, right?
Yeah.
And that's literally, I mean, for events and all sorts of catering events and stuff like that. You're starting at like 4 or 5, and you're ending at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., depending
Hmm.
on how long the event is. So that kills my weeknights and, more importantly, my weekend nights, because that's prime for shows, stand-up shows all over the city. Um, and back like 4 or 5 years ago, comedy wasn't as prominent as it is now in DC. There weren't as many shows, there weren't as many clubs, there weren't as many comedians. So I felt I was really like a big part of like the DC comedy scene, like growing. And so I just kind of got tired of, I felt like I was missing out on something that I really love, and it's super fun, and I still do it.
Hmm.
Uh, but the money was good for the time, but I just kind of got tired of coming home tired. Like I put in a lot whatever job it is, I like to give 100%. And
Right.
I told myself, if I'm going to give 100%, how about we just find something that is either comedy or will help me later with comedy in whatever sort of way. Um, then I just, I quit. I kind of got tired of a catering company, quit without knowing really what I was going to do, I just started picking up like little jobs. Like I was,
That's the best way to do it. That's the best
I
way to
just
do
had
it.
to do it. So it just pushes me. Exactly. It pushes me to do something to get the wheels turning. And I first started doing like a couple of side jobs at like farmers markets and like different little companies that I uh, got to know with the catering business. I
Mhm.
got to know a bunch of different people that own little smaller startup companies, food startup companies. So I worked with them a lot and bounced around a lot of food markets here and there. And while I was doing that, I did that maybe for like 2-3 months. While I was doing that, I was just doing stand up, like, I mean, probably 10 times a week or more, which is great. And I passed along my resume to a friend of ours. You might have known him too. His name is Prim. He was in DC. He was
White
more of a,
white guy with a beard.
yeah. He was more
Mhm.
like art director. Art. He
Mhm.
was more, yeah, and
He
he
does a
and
lot of
props
wardrobe. He does a lot of wardrobe,
and
right?
wardrobe and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
Mhm.
he's like now he's in LA and he's like constructing sets for different shows and films and stuff, which is really awesome. And
Did he run over to LA with
Alfonso,
Alfonso?
yes.
Oh, and that other guy. Oh, now I can't remember him because I did set deck. Oh, anyway, go ahead. I'll find his name. But
Yeah, so
so you
I
and
get
Prim.
so he yeah, I met Prim through comedy because he was really close friends with a group of people that put up a show called Church Night, which is like a parody church show. And it's super funny, super alternative. They have stand up, they have burlesque, and they have just the whole thing is a whole like giant sketch, like very, very well written. Check them out if you get a chance. Church Night is super great. And now since the whole thing is going on here with the virus and they can't do any live shows because they used to do shows like in New York here, but now they're just doing a lot of streaming shows, which
Mhm.
the first one was, I believe, 2 weeks ago. It was great, man. They put in some like the production is like great. They know what they're doing. It's fabulous. Super, super funny.
So that's
Um,
church night.
Church Night, yeah. So
Okay.
Prim was involved in the early days of that coming up, and he was one of the producers and stuff, and helped out. He was a big part of that, and I knew him through that because I performed on the show Church Night. Super fun people, great people. And then I found out that Prim had just started with a little company named Sirens that was here in the DC area in
Yep.
Silver Spring.
Sirens Media.
Yeah, Sirens Media. I heard he had gotten a job in production, and I was like, "Whoa!" I just didn't know. I was like, "Whoa!" There's production jobs in Virginia and
Yeah. No
DC or
shit. Right.
whatever. I
Yeah.
was like, "What? I didn't know that. That's great." And I gave him my resume. I just talked to him. I gave him my resume. I said, "Hey, man, when you have time, I know you just got in. I don't want you to think that like put don't just put in a word like right now. I'm just saying when you get comfortable and you're good and you're set with them and you think they'll take your word or something, or if they need somebody, here's my resume. Take your time. I don't expect any responses back anytime soon."
Mhm.
So it was just 3 months later. Somebody hit me up from Sirens, and they asked if I was available for like just to be a day player PA, and
Mhm.
I didn't know what that was. I just said yes. Um, my first my call time for the first time I ever was on set was 4 p.m. Right, so I'm thinking, oh great, I get to sleep in, easy. I'm guessing I'll be there for a couple of hours. I have no idea what production is like.
And
And
it's like
so
4 to 4.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I did not know that. So I'm rolling in at like 4 o'clock thinking, oh great, we'll be done, I don't know, 8, 9,
Right.
10, who knows, whatever. How long can these guys go? What are we doing here at night in the middle of the night? And so super small group. I get the hang of it. I mean, it's nothing, especially as a PA, it's not just, I don't know, some people are terrible just because they just common sense, I feel like, is huge in the PA world when you're just kind of starting out. It's like, have a little common sense and I think you'll be just fine, and people will see that you're actively trying to help rather than no one's not trying to help or trying to make it worse. But then there's some people, some PAs, some new people, green people that just don't know how to advance, like everybody, how like if you're do like everyone's got to keep moving, man. Like we're all on the same team. Everyone's got to put in 100% effort so we can all get done in time. And I was just I was young and I was like excited to be in this world that I didn't know, that I'd only seen and heard about in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm, wide-eyed and just listening, and you need this, you need that. And I'm just kind of like all ears and eyes, attention to detail. Like, oh, do you need this? Hey, maybe we need this since we had this on the last scene, right? Like just little things, helping them out, being like their extra ear or their extra eye to anybody, whoever was close to me. I mean, it's not like I went straight to like talking to the directors or anything. Like I would just chat with the AC, with the sound guy. The sound guys are great to talk to because they literally hear everything that goes on set.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, they'll give you like the best, I don't want to say dirt, but just like the best info in terms of like, what the crew needs and wants and all sorts of stuff like that. So I learned by just listening to crew. A lot of my stuff was listening to crew and what their needs are, what their wants, and I found out early that if you make the crew happy, you're in good shape. You're going to be getting another job probably by word of mouth, just from them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
what's that? Rule number one is crew eats first. You have catering laid out.
yeah,
Some of these actors and extras and day players might be sitting there just smelling it and staring at it, and it's like, no,
right,
crew eats first. Crew eats first.
yeah,
And you're right, because this crew eats first so that they can get in line. They can get the first pickings, because they got
yeah,
to scarf it down and they got to get right back to the set and move a light or reposition set dressings and furniture, or they got to run around and grab wardrobes and rearrange things, this and props and this, that, and the other thing,
yeah,
because an actor, I've come to your sets and get paid pretty well, and I'm there for 3 freaking hours.
yeah,
And maybe there's some crew members getting paid the same amount I am, and they're there for 10 to 12 hours a day.
yeah. It's rough, man.
And there's shoots I've been on where I was there all 12 hours.
Yeah,
There were shoots as an actor, I was there all 12 hours. There's shoots that I was there for like 3 hours, 4 hours, in and out. And my wife is like, what in the fuck? How are you? And you're getting paid for this? And yeah. And then she sees the final product and she says, that's amazing. And I did, 3 days at that day rate, 2 hours here, 7 hours here, 4 hours there. And so what people don't seem to realize, a lot of actors, oh, we're sitting here doing nothing. Can't we eat? And I'm like, no, you can't, because these guys are here 12 hours a day. And I've been there. And it's funny you mentioned sound. There was 2.5 straight years I did production sound for films, for TVs, for commercials. And yeah, you're able to listen in. I remember there was this one gig where, I'll try to make this as political and
we don't have to mention names or
I'll
anything.
make this as PC, but basically the leads, actor and actress, hooked up.
Yeah.
And then the next day on shooting, within a span of 24 hours, they were great that day. They must have gone out for like happy hour that night, hooked up, came back on set, and she was saying shit like, do not touch me. Stop screwing this up. And it went from like 100 to 0 in the span of 24 hours. And I'm sitting here giggling, and people are like, what is so funny? They're still mic'd up. They don't realize it.
Sure.
Of course, if someone goes to the bathroom, I'm telling them like, hey, turn it off, or give it to me, or let's take it off, or whatever. But I also had a boom op, and he's got headphones. And so slowly he'll be booming, and he's like, looks back at me, what? But they might be whispering, and the rest of the crew doesn't hear it, but we hear it. And it's like, but you're right. Another thing is that you might hear as a sound guy, and you mentioned that, you get a lot of tidbits from the sound guys, that the sound guy might hear tension with the crew.
Yeah.
I'm fed up with this set. I'm fed up with this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sound guy could pass that off to the PAs, like, hey,
very much so. Yes.
Bring a few extra waters. Maybe go grab some snacks and bring it to set, and then grab an apple. Grab healthy shit, not candy bars, but grab a granola bar and
a cold soda, not a lukewarm. So different things. Yeah. No,
fresh hot piping coffee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So important. Coffee is, and I mean, I started drinking. I didn't drink coffee for the longest time. For the
Mm-hmm.
longest time, I used to. And before I did the catering company, I used to work for a car part delivery service, and I got to know coffee then because it was like 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Up until like it was a 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. kind of job, deliveries all day. I'm driving all day. I got to wake up early, and I was like, okay, I'll give coffee a try. It was great. You know, 1 cup in the morning, good to go. And then production came by, and I learned not only how important coffee is to the crew, but
Mm-hmm.
to like for me as well. And don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I'm not drinking like 9 cups of coffee now. I like to stick between like 2 to 3, usually just two. But I gotta have my coffee now, and it's just such
Yeah.
an important thing for a lot of these. I, I don't have any kids, so I can wake up whatever time, like I just, but these other guys, they've been doing this for years. They have families to
Mm-hmm.
feed. They have all, so I like coffee is important because it's just like I'll be fine because I can wake up the latest as possible and then just jet to set. But like, there's other people with kids. They got to wake up. They got to make food for their kids. They got to drop off their kids. They got to see their wife. All sorts of stuff. And it's like, man, they legit didn't even have time to buy coffee or make it, or let alone drink it. So it's like coffee is so important to have on set before crew arrives. That's always my goal, is to have coffee before crew arrives. And yeah, and back to the actors like staying there all day. Sometimes really, I'm always so proud of when I like wrap my actors earlier than they
Oh yeah.
expect. I
Yeah.
like it makes me feel good
And you and
because
and
like I know they feel good about it. I love when they get to go home when there's still daylight
Yeah,
outside.
and
Oh,
I've noticed, like that sense about you when you come up to people like you're wrapped, and it seems like, yeah, you have an enjoyment with that. Absolutely.
I do. I love telling people that they can leave. Just leave.
Hmm.
It's great. It's a great feeling because it's like a little sense of like, I'm gonna be here and working hard for you. You go ahead and you go home. You go
Right.
home, take care of that wife. You take care of that kid. All right. You tell
Yeah.
them my story.
And I totally told you all my business so that you would know that, and then maybe kind of push to get me out the door sooner. I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing because both as a crew and
Yeah.
as cast, I know what to, like, little tidbits of information to put out
Yeah.
there so
And
that,
just as a person too, you're
yeah.
just telling me a little bit of your side so I can understand. So I'm not just like, oh great, this
Oh, he's
another
crazy.
actor wants to leave early again. Classic, like no, you're a human being and you have things to do. You have another life except,
Right.
instead of just being in front of the camera.
But again, from my standpoint, me having been a professional, and still, with the exception of right now, being a professional on both sides of the camera, I know how to work it in such a way that I'm not coming up and be like, hey, can I get out of here? I'm coming up and be like, hey, check it out. We just had our first kid, a week ago. Look at this kid's huge, da 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 da. But I know I put that out there. It's like, okay, let's just get Nelson in and out.
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a sneaky trick, but it's more professional, and it's more appreciated than it is like, oh, do you still need me?
Yeah.
Do you still need
Yeah.
me?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
because I've even seen in emails of all our casting directors, Thea Washington
Hmm.
and Vicky Valentine and
Yeah.
Hannah Hillbrought, I believe it's pronounced. If they always have that at the bottom, don't ask when to wrap. They'll let you know when we're wrapped.
Oh, is that right?
They always have that in their signature.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
have that in their automatic signature. Don't ask when you're wrapping. They'll let you know when you're wrapping.
and
Crew
that's
has
and I'm
crew,
sure that's
yeah.
for more for newer actors. There's a lot of
Mhm.
new people that are always around. A lot of extras that we use that are like they're relatively green. So I feel like it's more for them. Once
Mhm.
you're in the business for a while, both in the acting side and behind the camera, you
Mhm.
kind of get a sense of that. Like, hey, these are just going to be long days, man. This is I know an actor has been doing it for a while. When they brought a backpack full of their laptop, their work stuff. They brought a couple books. They brought their own snack, their own water bottle. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, they know the game.
Oh yeah,
Hurry up and wait,
yeah.
So
Hurry up
they've
and
been
wait. I
doing
mean,
it.
again, I have this extra expertise as crew, but I think it was my second acting gig. I brought my backpack with my laptop and the plug and a little power strip with my phone, and I'm on there like, oh, you need me? You just close it up, get
Yeah,
out there. But I'm pretty sure you've seen me numerous times just on my laptop. Like, hey, just let me know when you need me.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, I'm applying to other gigs, and
Right,
I'm working on my passion projects and my little
right.
scripts. I'm updating my YouTube. I'm replying to emails. I'm doing business just like everybody else. And that's the first thing I tell people is don't even, yeah, okay, sure, bring a book, but me, I'm never done with the little extra side projects, side hustles, supplementary incomes,
Right.
the other gigs that I have to reach out to and book and lock in and, finagle. I'm always finagling different dates. And you raise another point is that, yeah, I've been acting for 5 years. I've been on sets for maybe over 10 years, but I've been acting for only 5 years. But I'm definitely still not at that Bruce Willis, Will Smith, Tom Hardy type of level where, Nick, I worked on, I was actually a PA on National Treasure 2.
Oh yeah,
When that,
nice.
yeah, I think that was shot in DC. When the DC scenes were shot spring of '07, I think, because
Okay.
I was full time at Discovery, and I worked my vacation days to where I kind of was double dipping. I was working on that and still working at Discovery.
What were you doing in Discovery?
Media operations. So basically, with Discovery, if editors wanted to make a promo, so basically I worked at the lab where they made all the promos. Next week on Mythbusters, tomorrow on Mythbusters, tonight on Mythbusters, next on Mythbusters. So you got a voice actor that does that, and they need scenes.
Oh, okay.
They need scenes from previous episodes. So we have protection masters, and so they would need a copy of something, and I would make a digital copy or I would put it on a tape, but they can't have this copy.
Mm,
This is like the end all be all protection master of season 5, episode 3 of Mythbusters.
okay.
Now, my last year, it was just digitizing everything, because
For Discovery.
for Discovery, because they were
Okay.
basically taking their entire library and digitizing it and putting it in a
Mm,
digital library. So
okay. Right. Right.
that
I
was my
remember when they were
passion.
doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so an actor like Nick Cage would have it contractually, like he's only going to work certain hours.
Okay.
He's only going to work 8 hours a day. Actors like that have stand-ins and they have doubles and
Right.
they only come in when they don't sit there and test lights like we do. They don't sit there like while the DP is testing lights. A
Right.
stand-in would
Right.
do that.
That's all. Mm-hmm.
He's got all his lines memorized. He's gone over stuff with the director over and over. But when it comes to the more indie stuff and the more low budget stuff, and like the ID crime shows might be, the actors are going to sit there through the lighting, through the test. But the crew's a lot quicker because they
Mm-hmm.
got to fill in the day with way more shots.
Right.
And so, right, I'm experienced enough to where but I still will need that email. Like I'll see these notes and I still read them.
Yeah.
Don't bug the crew about rapping. Okay, well that's where I'll get slick and show a picture of my newborn baby, and then you'll think about that, like, well, we really. Oh man, I'm so excited for Glenn. Do we really need him? No, we don't. Let me go. Let me go make sure I get him out of here.
Yeah.
And it's like it's little slick things that with experience, you still know where you are in this industry. I'm not super famous yet, and I'm not at that level to where I can demand this, that, and the other thing on a set. But I'm experienced enough to where I know how to work it and still remain respectable because I've even directed and produced
Oh,
and,
nice.
and had actors pull that with me. And I'm like, just
Mm,
hold on. We still need you. I mean, I appreciate you doing this, that, and the other thing.
yeah.
And then chances are I won't work with that actor again because
Right.
they're a headache. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys have done that, put out notes like, hey, don't send this guy or don't send this gal because they're
Yeah.
they're a nightmare, and I don't want to be on that. I don't want to be on that shit list, you know.
Yeah, no, Thea's good at that, at like reminding me, hey, give me some good feedback because I gotta know, you know, and because I tend to be a little bit more like diplomatic and like, you know, sometimes somebody has a bad day, whatever. But she's good at like reminding me, like, we need to know because, you know, like if they're just gonna be pulling this kind of stuff, you know, whether it be uh being late or just being short with any of us, you know, to another actor or to a crew member or anything. I haven't experienced anything crazy like that with an actor, to be honest, nothing like that. But yeah, no, it's definitely like we definitely do that, and we definitely just I love having you around because I know whenever if you're gonna be in a scene, we're gonna do it quick.
Right.
Because you're you know you're good, you can turn it on like you said, you can be on your computer working on your script or whatever other side projects you got going, and like you said, you told me, hey man, just let me know, give me a quick one, I'll throw on the suit or whatever. And I love that about you because I tend to give you or try to give you the bigger scenes or the more quote unquote like important scenes with like, oh, like we need this interrogation. This is a very important interrogation because this is the main guy getting interrogated. So it's like when you're on set, I've seen your work, and I'm just like, oh, let's put Glenn in there because I know it's bigger, it's heavier, it's meatier, it's more things to remember. He's gonna get it faster, and nothing against all the other. I just know you a little bit better, and I've seen you more, and so whenever you're on set, just like, oh man, it's nice to see a familiar face, and I also know he can put in the work and make us like make us go home, you know, wrap us home, take us home, which that's what I love.
Well, I appreciate that. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
for
awesome.
sure.
Awesome.
Oh man, you're always a pleasure to work with, man. I love your attitude, and you're just the few times that we've talked, it's very like just one-to-one. Personally, you were telling me, I mean, back in the day, you were telling me when your girl was pregnant, I believe, and then just you know, we give each other like little updates and stuff like that. And I do remember talking to you about your now wife because I believe she's a teacher, and my girlfriend's a teacher too.
Oh wow,
I think
okay.
we connected on that. She's a high school teacher. I think you're teaches elementary school or middle school or
Third grade.
right? Yeah. So I remember talking about that. So then when you brought up your baby like a month ago, I was just like, oh man, that's awesome. Like, yeah, that's great, man. Congrats. And yeah, and it was, I remember that day that was, the Corona was about to peak, or was
Yeah,
it was about,
that was the time we were still doing elbow bumps. Now it's 6 feet back.
yeah.
But I remember on set. I remember on set I was still like, I think I went to shake your hand. You were like, you know, elbow bump, and I'm like, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I gotta
Because
keep that in mind.
right. It was, and that day was the first time I started doing the elbow bump, just because I mean 2 days before it was like whatever, and it just happened to get going, and more cases got and I was just like, was it the last? You weren't with us the second day, right? You were with us the first day.
I wasn't because there was a medical
That's right.
issue with both my baby and with both the kid and the wife, and because she was at the time she was still recovering. She had a C-section, and I think 2 days before that shoot was my son's bris, which is a circumcision. You know, the Jewish the wife's Jewish, and so we had a bris for the kid.
Nice.
And so he was still sore and cranky, and so something came up with the circumcision and then my wife's recovery all in the same day.
Ooh.
And plus, you know, we were just aware of how things were coming along with the whole COVID, the whole coronavirus. So I had to do like 17 different things all in that day. I had to go run and like binge buy. Everybody was running to the store, and I'm not the kind of guy that's going to get like 18 packages of toilet paper. I'm not that much of a panicker.
I just needed one pack of toilet paper yesterday, and I couldn't even get it.
Yeah.
I went yesterday after a week and a half. I went earlier last month. But yeah, that's when it all started, and I remember like just watching the news and updates, and the day you were there, that was actually we worked together in front of the camera. Remember? Because I
Yep.
was
Yep.
I like subbed in for somebody. It was just a pickup for a prior shoot.
Yeah.
So that was funny. I was
That
after all
was
these years, that was the first time that, and they're gonna use that footage because it was for pickup. So I just thought it was
yeah.
funny that after all these years, we're actually quote unquote working together in front of the camera.
And that and I've told you a million times that I've learned so much from you guys production wise, indie filmmaking wise. You
Yeah.
guys, because that day you guys were shooting the majority of one episode and then doing a bunch of pickups for a second episode.
Yeah.
I've been on a number of shoots where you guys did that. You guys were shooting the dramatic reenactments for 2 different episodes in a span of maybe 12 hours.
Yeah.
I remember we were at that big property where there's the pond in the backyard, there's that huge house, and there was that little supplemental house, a little smaller house. We did a whole bunch of family stuff in that house for one episode. We did interrogation stuff for a totally different episode in a smaller little guest house, I think it was. There's that pond. It's out in Frederick. It's got a huge barn. It's actually
yeah. Oh, Sageway.
Sageway, thank you. It was
classic.
the Sageway house. And I remember, and that might have been my second or third acting gig with Sirens when I first saw how you guys were pulling, like you guys were shooting 2 episodes in one day.
Yeah.
You guys, like the way you guys are able to pull off, squeeze every drop out of the towel to like pull these little hacks out. And it was the crime recre shows, Sirens and Storyhouse, that gave me the idea to do the similar kind of production. I do a DC Comics show and a Marvel Comics show shot and produced in the vein of the crime reenactment shows. Say Bruce Wayne, is Dundee and Batman. He goes home, has a cocktail, and sits in front of ID. Yeah. What kind of shows would be on ID in that world?
In that world,
if Bruce Wayne was watching ID, or if Tony Stark and Steve Rogers went home, had a whiskey, and watched ID. And so they got we do the green screen with the
you shot these already. Not only you wrote these and shot them already.
Yeah.
Are they on your YouTube channel or?
Yeah, season.
Oh, okay.
The first seasons are up. Rogues Gallery for DC, Sinister Infinite for Marvel. So the first seasons are up. The first seasons for each universe are up, and I just finished editing season 2 of Rogues. I'm in the process of editing season 2 of Sinister, and those will be up hopefully within less than a month.
Dude, I love, man. Rogue used to be my favorite X-Men, and I mean, she's still up there. I just ever since the movies came out, they totally like watered her down.
No.
I don't keep up with the comics anymore. That's why. But I just mean like Rogue was like.
What is her name from the movies? She was in True Blood.
Oh yeah. It's gonna kill me.
Yeah. She's such a hot rogue.
And she was good, but like she was too innocent. Rogue, I remember, and a lot of the characterization I got more from the X-Men cartoon show on Fox rather than like the comics. And she was like, I thought she was like such a badass in the show.
In the animated show.
Yeah.
So Anna Paquin, she was Rogue.
Anna Paquin, that's right.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can. Yeah, there we go. Get some pictures of.
They just did nothing with her. They just made her into like this, like almost like a damsel in distress, which was annoying.
All right. Well, these are other movies that she's in. Yeah, she was in True Blood.
Yeah.
But she was a damsel in distress, and Magneto and all the bad mutants wanted to utilize her powers to like do other things. So she was important.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought she was super hot in that.
Yeah, you don't mind the gap teeth? She's got prominent gap teeth, right?
But she pulls it off.
She pulls it off wonderfully.
Sexy.
Yeah,
it's sexy on her. Kind of like same with Madonna. I think had the same thing, and she pulled it off.
Does Madonna have a gap?
I think so. Yeah. Let me see. Pull that up. Madonna.
All I can remember is Anthony Anderson's teeth gap.
Anthony
Anderson. He's got a big
gap.
Yeah.
And he
makes it work. He's great. He's funny.
But it works differently for a guy because See, where am I going to find it?
But type in Madonna gap teeth.
She might have had it
She
fixed.
probably fixed it, right?
Maybe, because I remember in the 80s, yeah, it was pretty prominent. Oh, here we go. Very little. Okay, so not so much, maybe.
Yeah.
Not so much. It was very subtle, but yeah, she was sexy too.
Did you get a chance to watch the latest X-Men film?
Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
It was all right.
It was,
I didn't hate it
I
as
haven't
much as everybody hated it, but
That's what I think. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I was just like, I feel like people are hating on it way too much.
okay. So my biggest beef with comics or pseudo comic fans is I remember having a conversation with somebody about Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Jamie
I'm
Foxx.
definitely more pseudo than like full on, because like I have a bunch of comics, but I wasn't like deep. I mean, honestly, half of them I didn't read. It was more about like collecting them, and I had a bunch of Spider-Man. I went through a Spider-Man phase and an X-Men phase. I was mostly Marvel. My brother had a little bit of DC stuff, but in terms of the movies, I mean, I've seen pretty much every superhero movie that there has been.
Yeah, I've seen every single movie. I mean, when I was 12, 13, 14, I think around that age bracket, I was buying, collecting, and reading some, but I would get hooked. Comics were perfect in the 90s. They hooked kids in such a way that they had like these unique specials with a much more unique cover. And I would grab that, and it would say,
oh my God, Spawn. I was so all about Spawn when Spawn did a collab with there was another, it wasn't G-Force, it was the Wildcats. Did you ever read the Wildcats? Oh man, I thought when that cartoon came out, I thought that was like just such a dope like superhero team. Like I thought they were on, and I remember buying a couple of crossovers where they had Spawn and Wildcats.
Oh yeah, and if they had crossovers, then I jumped into it.
Yeah,
I was a big Batman guy, as a very small little kid. With the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, I was huge into that.
Yeah,
which then kind of got me into comics. But then when Batman came out in '89, I was like a Batman buff, and then somehow I started, and then I guess it was because of the X-Men comics, I started getting into the X-Men cartoon on Fox. I started getting into X-Men comics, but there would be like a series like Children of Men. It was the Children of Men series with X-Men battling Strife, who's like Strife is like Cable's clone, and then dealing with Genesis, who's a clone of Cable's son. It was like all this crazy stuff, and then I would stop, and then I would see another series of comics, and I was totally like quit that and get like I would get like World War Hulk. I had like that three comic package, but I never read any other Hulk comics.
okay.
And so eventually I had the whole Death of Superman and Funeral for a Friend series, but then I stopped reading. But I never really read Superman outside of like this, holy crap, Superman, they killed Superman. You got to buy this. I quickly ran and bought it and then sold it for a shitload of money on eBay maybe 10 years ago. But as far as reading it, I would always bounce. But the second we started, because everyone, how the story goes, why read the book if there's going to be a movie, And so it was like the same thing for me, once Blade came out and I saw Marvel, I was like, oh, they're going to start. I even thought they're going to start a whole series of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
So Blade 1 and 2 came out, still waiting for
it. That was so like when, first off, Blade 1, super violent, super good still. I just rewatched it. But then when 2 came out, I think 2 is better than 1.
2 was way better, I think.
They stepped it up with because it was who was it? Del Toro, or who was it? The director?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. So he got all like
he went
all creature with the new vampire, with the opening of that was
like the vampires.
Yeah, that was all. And also when like I guess instead of they like burned up in burned up in fire. Like
Uh-huh.
after that was like just a little special, and it wasn't even great special effects, but just it was just something different, and it was definitely like a step up. They took everything that from Blade that was like good, and they just put everything. They stepped it up a notch, which I really
Yeah.
liked.
And then we had Blade 3.
And then we had Blade 3, Blade
But
Trinity.
Blade Trinity. But you know, from when Blade 1 and Blade 2, and then I don't know if X-Men 1 came out before Blade 2, but I just knew they were all Marvels, and I was like, we're gonna start seeing a whole slew of like this dope product. And then it just grew and grew and grew.
That's
And
crazy how you kind of knew. See, I would never have guessed that. Like
oh,
because like back then, like I didn't know the whole like story with Marvel sold a lot of the rights back in the early 90s, late 80s because they were having financial issues. So they sold like half of their characters rights to whoever would buy them, including Sony and Fox and stuff like that. And so I never like thought that it would grow like I never thought we would see like Civil War, for instance, or let alone like Spider-Man in space. Like I never thought we'd see that in a
yeah.
movie in a cinematic fashion.
I've always seen this. I've always seen this, that, and the other thing in the comic, in the cartoons, because the cartoons were coming out in the 80s and 90s. So we've always had the cartoons. And, you know, I was aware of, you know, some of the great story arcs like the Civil War and the World War Hulk and, you know, Spider-Man's, you know, numerous major arcs. You know, death in the families, heroes going against each other, and also hero team ups. So I was always aware of that. Now, I don't know, I was never really in depth familiar with Apocalypse or the House of M or the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants teaming up against the U.S. government, or the Civil War and who was at it. But as the movies came out, I just took the movies as they were. And going back to we were saying, you know, pseudo comic fans, I remember with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen Stacy, you know, and spoiler alert, obviously spoiler alert, you know, people are upset with Jamie Foxx being cast as Electro, and then Gwen Stacy dying at the end, and someone said, well, that's how it was in the comics. And the first thing or something else happens in a movie, and like, well, that's not what happened in the comics. The first thing I say is, which comics are you talking about?
Right.
Because Spider-Man's origin has been rebooted thousands, maybe not thousands, but like, you know, like maybe in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
His origin has been rebooted 20 times. Who he's married has been changed up 15 times. You know, throughout all of let's go with Superman, for example. Superman's origin is always he's the last son of Krypton, the last son, male, the last son of Krypton, lands in Smallville, raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent, to appreciate American values, life, liberty, and pursuit of the American way, etc. Kryptonite is his weakness. Everything else has been changed a whole bunch of times. He's married and had kids with Lana Lang. He's married and had kids with Lois Lane. He's married and had kids with Wonder Woman. He's married and had kids with another character. I can't remember.
Jimmy.
Maybe Jimmy. Yeah. He married Jimmy and adopted kids with Jimmy. You know, there's different variations of Jimmy Olsen. There's different variations of Princess Diana. I mean, Batman, the only thing that stays the same is Crime Alley. His parents were killed in the alley. He grows up to be a vigilante, a Batman. There's been 5 different Robins, a couple of them female. There's been, you know, 3 different Jokers that he knows of. You know, there's all sorts of different changes. So when you can't just say like, oh, that's not how it happened in the comics. Well, the Dark Knight changed up. Okay, so Two-Face got half his face burnt from acid. That's always been the comics. Now in Batman the Animated Series in '92, Two-Face got blown up. In a fuel in the anime series. That's how Two-Face did it. So the Dark Knight went off of the animated series background instead of the acid in courtroom background. They even played a joke at it where in court, Aaron Eckhart's playing Harvey Dent, and he's questioning a witness in court, and the guy pulls a gun on him in court. Well, that was kind of a play off of like taking away the acid. He pulled a gun, Harvey Dent snatches it, punches him, like the badass that Harvey Dent is.
Right.
And then it gets blown up. And that's how it happened in the animated series, not in the comics. You can't, but the comics get rebooted. There is this formula, there is this mythos and this kind of general, but when it comes to like the Arrowverse on TV versus the DC extended universe, when it comes to the MCU, which is both theatric and Netflix and TV.
That's right.
And that's the beauty of the MCU, is that they were able to connect, keep not clusterfuck everything, but everything that's TV, streaming, and movies is all connected.
Yeah. In one way or another.
In one way or another, yeah. So,
and it's funny you say that because I remember the Batman. Was it Batman Forever? Is that the one with Two-Face and Riddler with Jim Carrey?
Yeah,
and
Val Kilmer, and
yeah. So in that one, I guess they followed the comic book because I believe doesn't Two-Face fall into like acid?
He might have.
I can't even remember how.
Because because the best of my knowledge, I thought the movie started. I don't know if they did like a flashback of how he got turned.
I think we actually see it because I remember seeing like Tommy Lee Jones, like his regular face,
his regular
Two-Face,
yeah.
And then he falls into the ass, So it's funny. So and like it doesn't really work because it's like, how do you fall in a vat of acid and only scar half your face perfectly?
Yeah. So I'm like
in the comic world that could work because it's one frame. It's like but then in the next, and that's the thing, like.
But even in the comics, someone threw acid in his face.
Right.
And so like when he kind of like turned, that's why it splashed on one side.
That's right.
And Batman was in court. He was a witness too. He tried to jump on him and like put it out, and he didn't get to him in time or something like that.
But that's the thing too, when people say like, oh, they're either mad or happy that they did it the way, like you said, like, oh, well, that's not the way they did it in the comic books, or that's the way they did it in the comic books. It's like, well, that's a comic book, not a movie. It's a completely different medium. You can't just
on top of all that,
right? You can't just like replicate exactly what's on paper onto the screen. It just doesn't work because the people who wrote that weren't thinking in the movie, in a film sense. They were thinking in the comic book sense. And comic books are completely different from feature films. And so that I just feel like, I don't like it when people are like, oh, well, it's not for not just comics, for any books, whenever they have book adaptations, when they're like, oh, well, it's not like true to the book. And it's like, well, there's a certain amount of leeway I have for that because it's like, it's a totally different medium. So everything on the book shouldn't be on the screen because it probably doesn't translate as well as if you were reading it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know.
I mean, a wise man once told me, "I'm happy to get something." I love a colleague of mine said, I love comic books and I love cartoons and I love the superheroes and I love these characters. I'm happy that they're making movies. They're finally pulling the trigger. When we were kids, we wanted to see X-Men in the theater. We wanted to see Hulk, like a big budgeted Hulk. Even the Hulk with Eric Bana, I enjoyed it. It's not the best one. Incredible Hulk is awesome with Edward Norton. I liked it.
Yeah.
I like all the Marvel movies. Even the first two Thors that are kind of like, still enjoyed them because they're funny. They find a way to make them funny and entertaining. And they're still staying true to the characters. They're still within the general mythos of what these characters are, how they have their powers, who they are, who they get involved with, yada, yada, yada. And so it's worked. Because Infinity War and Endgame was so epic and so, such a grand scale with so many characters and everything just finally culminating together.
Yeah.
And I've said this numerous times on this show with other guests. People complain like, how can you watch all these Marvel movies? Well, if you can sit on Netflix and binge watch all of The Office, or if you can sit on Hulu and binge watch all of Seinfeld, it's the same amount of hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
Guaranteed. all 8 seasons of The Office and all the MCU movies in chronological order, I guarantee you it's the same amount of hours. Office is probably more hours.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, think about 24 episodes a season, 24 of I don't know, 21 minutes without commercials. I mean, yeah, that's easily times 8
right,
seasons. Yeah.
right. Well, I knew this was I knew you were gonna be an awesome guest. I knew we were gonna be going on for hours. So I haven't even gotten to my second point that I like to
Oh
address.
man, awesome. Yeah.
So but it's great.
Real quick, before we leave comic books, you
Yeah.
should look into my buddy. His name is Lafayette Wright. He's also a comedian. He's an artist as well, as in he does drawings. He does a lot of comic fan art. You should check out his Instagram. Aside from him doing stand up, he a great stand up, by the way. He's also very talented in drawing and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
You should check him out. Super into comic books. You can talk all day with him. But you should definitely follow his Instagram. I believe it's Lafayette Wright.
Okay. All right. Link in below. I'll put his Instagram there in the link in the description below. But so yeah, back to you. My second point of the show, how would you say you are impacted by the quarantine, the lockdown, shut in, stay in place, shelter in place? How would you say you've been impacted professionally?
I'm unemployed right now, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the last set I was on was the one that you were present at. So it was just about
Okay.
a month ago. And that was the day that you were there was the second to last day that I was on set. And we were, everything was after that, after those 2 days, early February, we're pretty much like not, it didn't escalate as like it did in March yet. So we were
Mm-hmm.
still on like, okay, hey, nothing has been told from the higher ups of the other companies. We're just going on moving forward like if it's happening. So let's just keep prepping. So luckily I was still working after that. And our shoot date was supposed to be for another episode of what you were working on there with us before, was I believe supposed to be March 3rd or so earlier last week, last Wednesday and Thursday, I believe.
April 3rd.
April 3rd, I'm sorry.
April 3rd, yep.
And we actually went as far as the Monday. We stopped on Monday. So what was that, like the 29th or something?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, which I was surprised. I thought we pretty much stopped it after the governor of Maryland put the stay at home thing.
He put he put the kibosh and everything, yeah.
On everything, pretty much. And it wasn't until then, like that Monday, and we were getting ready to shoot on Tuesday, Wednesday. And so it was that Monday, we were like playing it as like, we were taking precautions. Like we bought everybody, for every person that was on set, we kept it under 10 people for each day. And then also we had a, like, whatever you want to call it, a corona kit or a virus kit. And it had like, sanitizer, a spray, your own paper towels, your own gloves, your own mask, like a whole bunch of stuff. Everybody was going to get one, so we're all prepared about doing this because again, like we kind of also, we need to work, man. We need to get, a lot of us are freelancers and stuff like that, the camera crew and stuff like that. So all that stuff, it's like a day, the longer we can work, the better, because we were all looking at it like, oh yeah, we're going to start losing a lot of money. And not money, but like jobs, which is like, future money. And we stopped on that Monday, and pretty much I was just told, hey, we kind of have to stop until things get back, until at least until the governor lifts the stay at home warning. And then after that, we'll just have to see. But it's been like what, 2-3 weeks now. And it doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. So aside from that, I mean, luckily my girl, she's a teacher. So, she's still working, quote unquote. Oh, she's definitely working because she has to do the yearbook too, as well. And now, since they're doing distance learning starting like next week, she's had these past few 2 weeks to start prepping for all that. They got to get all that organized, and I guess transferring all the hard copy grades or whatever work into like digital form now. And so we've been doing that, kind of like trying to work at home together, where she's doing that and I'm either podcasting with different people. Bill, I'm doing a podcast myself that I'll be releasing out soon. I've been trying to. Oh, I also, funny enough, I listened to your previous Zombie Squad podcast, and halfway through, I'm just like, oh, this is a day trading podcast. This is great. This is amazing, because this is all I've been doing for the past 4 weeks. Is just day trading.
Yeah, I've been doing. I've been dabbling a little bit. I use Robinhood, so I'm not like a monster day trader, but I'll look at like some stuff and I'll see like, oh, if it rose, should I dump it and make a buck or something?
I'm doing it every day from 9:30 to noon. I try to like that. That's my like, let's just try to make some money in that time. And so I've been doing a lot of that, and it was nice to hear that you guys are like doing. It was just like, I don't know. I didn't know what to think, because it's like, oh, it's like an idiot move. Like, why am I, everyone's panicking. Why am I throwing money at this thing? And it's like, well, I shouldn't have that like panic in my head. It's like, if anything, this is the right time to just buy and just ride it out. So let it sit there.
So yeah, Mike Brandt, you can find his information in the description of that app if you want to reach out to him and see what he's doing, because he's doing something called 4X or some sort of platform that he's actually releasing, and he's doing like online trainings with people on this, that, and the other thing. But as far as what I'm doing, as far as stocks, I'm finding like the cheapest, the stocks that have dropped the most. Like I'm looking at stocks that are like 5 cents, 10 cents. JCPenney went like down to 45 cents. When I was on the set with you, I saw JCPenney drop down to 45 cents a stock. So I bought like $20 worth of 40. So that's like 40 shares.
Yeah.
I bought like 50 shares. So I'm not going out to bars. I'm not spending $25 bar tabs anymore, $30 bar tabs anymore.
Right.
So drop what I would have at the bar, taking the lady out to the restaurant, dropping $50-$60 for dinner. Drop that on a bunch of stocks that are 15 cents, 20 cents. There's stocks out there that are down to like 10 cents.
Yeah.
But they might, but in a year they might raise up to like $2.
Exactly.
So that's going to turn
easy money.
$40 into 500 or so. I don't know the math, but I'm not, I could do the math, but that'll be a boring show. But so that's what I thought of doing. Now there's some really more in-depth stuff that Mike's doing. And all his information is in that episode in the description if you want to reach out to him. My viewers out there, if you want to like reach out to Mike, he could use it. So
I'll check it out. So I'm doing a lot of, yeah, man. It's been fun. So also I had dabbled in cryptocurrency about like a year and a half ago, when it was like really going before Bitcoin hit to like 18,000, when that big surge, almost up to 20,000 and whatnot. So I was on it way before, when it was like maybe like between $1,000 and $2,000 for Bitcoin. So I had like 1.5 Bitcoins at one point. But then afterwards, I started trading, and I started getting into like Ethereum and Ripples. So those were other types of crypto. I threw in $1,000. I got out with like $2,200.
I mean,
in the span of like 2 months.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, that's cool. And then I just got out, and I was just like, you know what? This thing is too. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing enough to to kind of play my luck that way. I was already lucky enough to double my money and then some.
Yeah.
So it's just like, all right, you know what? Forget it. And then like a couple months later, all of cryptocurrency like goes down. And so then I figured when this whole thing started happening, this year, actually, my girl and I kind of sat down, and we were thinking early January, we're like, hey, we really got to start thinking about our retirement, our future, just like our, savings, just like, let's make sure that we have something that can just grow, or just, is there some, aside from bonds and all this stuff. And I was like, well, hey, yeah, maybe I should look into like the stock market, because I did cryptocurrency before. It's, and I feel like that's more volatile than the stock market. and I survived cryptocurrency. So when I just tried, so before I dove into it, this all happened. Luckily, I didn't dive into it in January, or else I would have been just, And so I started. So we got a good. We had some disposable cash, and I was just like, let's just put in this money, and let me just try to grow it like every day. My goal is to get literally just $100 a day. Let me just try it for $100 a day. I'm not hitting it all the time, but I'm like, that's like the goal. So I do a lot of, it makes me like research companies. It makes me watch the news and like the good news, not like the terrible news, meaning news for like companies and stuff, It makes me wake up earlier in the morning because I want to read info, make my coffee before the opening bell. And not only that, I'm also like, ever since this whole thing, ever since we got basically laid off, I can't go to the gym anymore because no public places and stuff like that. So I've just been, instead of, I don't know, I understand a lot of people can get real low. This is a real low point for them.
Gyms would be the absolute worst because we already have people that don't wipe down the sweat. We already have people that are like, when I run, little beads of spit are always flying out of my mouth because I hate running.
Yeah.
And so gym's probably the absolute worst place to go right now.
Exactly. And I stopped right when things like were because the last time I was there was I think March 2nd or something like that was the last time I was there. And so I understand if people, this isn't a good year for them so far. Like they're, and they're using they're using this as an excuse. But I don't know. I'm if you're sad, that's cool. Deal with it. But I'm just like, I'm taking this terrible situation and trying to turn it into somewhat a positive. Like I'm still and you know me, I've been like trying to be good in terms of my fitness. I'm trying to be healthier. I've been trying to, because you met me, I was a much bigger dude back in the day.
And that's another thing. I took a huge note of when I saw you on the last set. I was like, dude, I saw a bunch of videos you were posting on Instagram, I think, and if not, or Facebook of your workouts and of you just dropping weight, dropping pounds, and when I saw you in person, I was like, dude, you look phenomenal, great work. Because I wouldn't say I was like watching every one in time because.
But you can see it. The further you don't see me, the bigger change that you see. So no, definitely. And so I just started. Luckily, what I'm trying to say is like this whole thing didn't kind of, even though I can't go to the gym. It's like I didn't shut down. I wasn't like, oh man, I can't get my workout. Oh man, you know what? I'm laid off. Might as well just eat whatever I want. Who cares? Like what? Nah, man. I've still been. I got my girl and I take a walk after dinner every day, at least like 1.5 to 2 miles after dinner. We try to do morning walks, like separate morning walks, and then morning and then afternoon or night walks together. I've been working out at home. I don't have a lot of stuff at home. I have like one dumbbell that's like 20 pounds. I have a kettlebell, luckily, 25-pound kettlebell, and then a couple of bands. And funny enough, I have a few things that I bought for recrees. That was like, I just happened to have a show. I think we did a recre about like the Menendez. Is it the Menendez brothers that like were worked out, right? They were like super. Were they?
I think they were fit. Yeah.
If not, there was like another. Evil Twins. That was one. That was the show. All right.
Yeah.
One of the episodes was like these two dudes who like work out and they do steroids and stuff like that. So like as props, I had to buy like a couple of gym stuff. So luckily, I just kept it because it's like, oh, we're not allowed to return it, and no one's going to use it. So cool, I'm going to keep it. But as far as like working out, I've been doing the deck of cards. The deck of cards, 52 cards. You flip it, and you just do either push up, sit up, squats, or press. So you just go through the whole deck. So my goal is to do the whole deck at least 3 to 4 times a week. I've been doing good at that. Eating, ever since I started, what really changed my whole dieting perspective was doing the Whole 30. I don't know if you've heard of the Whole30. It's basically just like a month long like reboot of like what you eat, just to
Hmm.
kind of clear out your body and just kind of start at a base level.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just get rid of sugars and breads and
Yeah.
and carbs, and not carbs but sugars specifically. So that got me on a good route. I did the Whole30 like 4 times in 4 years. Like every year I just kind of did it to like restart my my body, whatever you want to call it. But it wasn't until the fourth time or the third time that it really stuck. Like I just basically been eating um, relatively Whole30 foods for the past like year and a half.
Hmm.
Now that doesn't mean I haven't ate sugar or I haven't ate bread. I just mean for the most part, it's been like that diet because I just got so used to the way I have to shop for that diet. That's just the way I shop now because it's all whole foods. It's one ingredient foods. You won't catch me for a good amount of time like eating like anything out of a box, anything out of a bag, anything that's like pre-made. I'm probably not gonna eat it. I mean, the only thing that I eat out of a bag is like almonds or like something that's prepackaged. It's pretty much just like nuts or peanuts or almonds and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been kind of like lucky to just kind of yeah, when this whole thing happened, I didn't go in a spiral. I just kind of like, well, you know what, the only thing I can be in control of right now is my health, for the most part, or at
Hmm.
least what I'm putting inside of my body. I can't, sucks I can't work right now, sucks I can't do this, I can't do that, or I can't go with my friends and play basketball
Hmm.
or do stand up. Like, yes, those are all things I'm not in control of. But what are the few things I am in control? I'm in control as far as right now, like my weight and like, what I put into myself, food, drinks, um, walking. I walk, so I just try to stay active, whether if it's raining, fine, I won't walk, I'll work out here. I do yoga. I'm doing yoga a lot more, try to get it done in the morning. And like I said, it all goes back to like to the trading. Like it's just something for me to keep busy, or else you're just what, eating, sitting on the couch, watching terrible news all day, and
Yeah.
like people can't function
That's
like that. It's a terrible way to live, and I
that's
can't
all
I
my
can't do
wife.
that.
That's all my wife does is just she's reading the news and she's like, "Babe, it's so terrible out there." And I'm like, "Stop reading that shit. Let's take a walk." And me and the wife, we do walks all the time. And
That's
we'll
great.
and a lot of times what I'll do is I got that harness to put the kid on the
Oh,
front
nice.
harness.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like I'm walking with a weighted vest, like doing the
Yeah.
vest walk.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Nice.
he's like looking around. It's like killing three birds with one stone.
That's
The
great.
wife will walk with me, or sometimes what I'll do is I want to run, and so we'll put the kid in the stroller. She'll kind of do like a lap while I'm running for like 3 laps, and then we meet at the end, and I'll like
Oh, nice.
wave or I'll pat her on the butt in front of all the neighbors, and while I run by her, or whatever, and she gets embarrassed. But yeah, I mean, it's important to. I've said it a number of times before. This is the most opportune time to take all those passion projects, to take all those hobbies,
Yeah.
the things around the house. You can clear out a room easily, clear out a room and do just body weight stuff. Uh, I'm sure you're aware I'm in the National Guard, and there's only 3 workouts that I have to do to be successful in the military right now, and that's push-ups, sit-ups, and run. I could run around here, and I can just do like 150 push-ups, 150 sit-ups, call it a day, and you'll be in great shape just doing push-ups,
Yeah.
sit-ups, and I'll throw in air squats, body weight squats,
Yeah.
and I'll do that because that helps with the run, obviously. And then I'll go run on the next day, and then come back in, do those 3 workouts in the basement, and then the next day go run. And of course, on the 5th or 6th day, me and the wife are going to just chill out, watch TV, drink beer, drink wine,
Nice.
and then
Yeah.
I gotta lose all that beer weight again because
Yeah.
there's been quite a bit of beer drinking since this whole thing. Um,
I
I
tend to not I tend to stay away from beer. I'm not too much of a beer guy. I'll do wine, or like even I'll do some White Claws, man. Like I rather
Yeah,
just,
okay.
because they're just kind of like, because I don't know. I just don't. Beers are just. I'm not a big fan of beer. The taste, and then also the what's it called? Like what are you called? The newer ones, the like pale ales and the
Mhm.
stouts, and they're just too heavy for me.
They're very heavy, and
Very heavy.
I'm a big IPA guy. I'm a
Okay.
big
Yeah.
IPA guy. So, if I was to like be on this hardcore gotta shred pounds phase, I might do vodka and soda water, like
Right.
seltzer water, LaCroix
Yeah.
and vodka. And I've been doing that, just because I don't want to just be constantly drinking beer, beer,
Yeah.
beer, beer, beer. But a good IPA is definitely, when the wife wants to sit down and enjoy a glass or two of wine, that's what I'll drink.
Yeah.
But if I'm up all night editing, I might have like a vodka soda, just to like relax while I'm editing. But it's not going to be, a heavy fattening beer. Oh, I told
So
you.
summer, yeah, summer's different though. Summer, if I'm outside and it's like a hang, nothing's better than like an ice cold beer. Like
Oh yeah,
I like a Corona or a Heineken. Man, nothing beats like an
yeah,
ice cold one out in the hot day. But
absolutely.
as far as like what my drink of choice, yeah, you won't really catch beer here in my house. I have like liquor bottles. I'm really not much of a drinker too. It's just I have liquor bottles that I've had since like a year and a half, and they're
Yep.
still not done. Just because, like, well, one, my girl won't drink liquor that much, but then I'm just like, yeah, I just like to have it just for the purpose of having it. I
Right.
don't, and it's not like the way I used to be, college years, where it's like, oh, I have a handle. That handle's like gone in the weekend.
Yeah, I
It's
used to drink like
crazy.
that. I used to drink like
Yeah.
that.
And
Not
not
anymore.
and not just me. I just mean like the handle is gonna go away because me and my buddies,
Or you might have friends over.
we're
Yeah.
gonna have friends over. Like I know for a fact that's gone next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, not like that anymore. So I'm happy. I'm happy with like the shift that I've made in my eating habits and like the way, like everything. I just honestly, I just didn't know how to eat, meaning like what is good for my body and what is not good for my body. Everybody's different. I can't say like, oh, you shouldn't eat this because of this and that. It's like, well, no, you're a completely different person. Those things may not affect you the way they affect me. There's people with
Oh
gluten
yeah.
problems and stuff like that. Well, I mean, gluten doesn't really do much to me, but aside from like I gain weight a lot faster. So I'm gonna stay away from like breads and gluten
Mm-hmm.
because of that, not because I have like um an allergy to it. So yeah, I've been conscious about like what my shift of, because I just used to eat terribly. I used to drink those vitamin waters,
Mm-hmm.
like I used
And
to
as
drink.
it turns out, it had so much sugar in it or something.
I used to drink
Yeah.
the yellow one. I forget what it was called, like Energy or something like that. This is Energy. It's called Energy. Like I doubt like the name of it
Yeah.
was Energy. I can't be, it's
Yeah.
so, and then I look at the back and it's like, oh, 50 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Apparently.
I drank two each
Yeah.
night. Like what? Like that's insane.
Apparently they went under, or 50 Cent was their spokesman, or they had like this major issue because then people realized like this is not vitamin water, it's sugar water or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, they had a
It's
big
misleading.
yeah, they had a big crash in publicity or sales or something because that stuff like that got out. Yeah.
And that made me more aware of just like labels, like in the
Yeah.
back. I
Oh
was
yeah,
just like, just take
I'm
a second and just
a
read,
label reader.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And now it's just like, okay, now I know the first thing on the label in the ingredients. That means that has the most of that.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't know that. Okay, so when I pick something up and the first thing is sugar, it's like, oh hey, don't get that at all.
And
That's like the worst thing, especially if it's a liquid. If you're putting liquid sugar into you, that's like the worst kind. Like rather just eat a chocolate bar than to actually have fructose drinking a glass of
exactly.
fructose syrup. Yeah,
Exactly. Because and that's also a great way to save $1 too, because you can look at this can, and this can, and if they're all the same ingredients, this might have slightly less sugar, which is healthier for you, plus it's $5 cheaper.
yep,
You're gonna not only shred pounds, but you're gonna save $5,
yep,
and you're gonna lose weight and save money. And by just like you said, it only takes a minute, not even a minute.
yeah,
Read a
yeah.
label. 5 grams, 3 grams, 2 grams, but $1 more, but less sugar. Well, worth it.
Yeah, yeah,
Or,
and I just know how to shop. I know how to read labels. I know how to shop now. Like I just
mm-hmm.
know where to go. So it's like I don't waste time at the grocery store, like going aisle to aisle, being like, oh, I want this, or like, oh, I want this on the weekends. I just know what I eat already, and so I just veggies, fruit, meats, potatoes, onions, that kind of stuff, and then go like basically I always shop around the outer perimeter
Mm-hmm.
of the grocery store because everything in the aisles is just prepackaged, stuff. So it's just
Right.
not great for you. But so yeah, so I've been glad that's kind of kept up. I'm glad that during all this, none of that learning went away. None of that like went like, oh well, hey, here's an excuse to eat,
Mm-hmm.
Peruvian chicken every night. It's like I just can't anymore. As much as I love it, I love Peruvian chicken. You've been to my sets. Don't we have Peruvian chicken
Yes.
at least one day
Yes.
during our week?
And there's a Peruvian chicken place not too far from me right now that I've gone to a couple of times. Yeah. And
Yeah. Do you go to Sardi's? What do you do?
there's
Or
this,
just a
I,
local one, more
I,
local?
I think well, I don't know what the actual business's name is because it says Peruvian Grill on
Okay,
top.
nice.
So that might be the name of it. It's in a little strip mall, and they fix it up so fast. It's like
Yeah. It's
like
fast, it's
like
cheap, it's
every
delicious.
Joe Schmo will look at it and be like, "It's really cheap, quick, nasty food." Comes in like that plain white styrofoam thing, but it's amazing.
And they give you so much. They give
Mhm.
you such a yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's great, man.
yeah, but you can't do it every day.
Can't do it every day. Can't do. I mean, if it was just the chicken, I could. But like, I got to get some yuca. I got to put the sauces, the white sauce, and that's
Hmm.
really what kills it. All the
Yep,
sauces right there, because that's got. I'm
because
sure
it's
it's got
rich.
butter. It's got dairy. Something.
Hmm.
And then there's the fries, the yuca, the rice. The rice is delicious.
Yeah.
If it was just a chicken, it wouldn't be too bad. It's just chicken. It's just protein.
Yeah, I mean, there's little hacks, instead of white sauce or thick red sauce,
Yeah.
it's like do a balsamic vinaigrette instead, or oil and vinegar instead.
Yeah.
A simple olive oil and a balsamic vinegar mixture with some herbs as a dressing, as a sauce, instead of like the thick white or mumbo sauce. Mumbo sauce, the
Yeah.
big. I mean, it's okay, but that's just syrup. That's just
Yeah, yeah. It
straight
was good though.
flavored
I
syrup.
remember there was a spot. There was a spot up in 14th. No, was it no, maybe like 11th and U Street, around that area. I used to live in Columbia Heights, and there was this spot that sold. It didn't look like they sold chicken. It didn't look like a restaurant. I forget what
Mhm.
they like cash checks, and then they
Right.
also had like fried chicken in there, and it was
Okay.
dirt cheap. And I remember going in there, and that's the first time I tried mambo sauce. And yeah, that was crazy. I was just like, oh my god, this is just like heavy syrup. It was delicious,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
man, it was so good. Just fried chicken. I can't. Yeah. So but that's how I eat. So that's the thing too. Like I also don't like go without eating the things that I like. Like I love chicken. I love Peruvian chicken. So less now, but like before it was like, hey, I'm gonna get Peruvian chicken every other weekend.
Hmm.
At least every
Every
other
other
week.
weekend's kind of decent. That's like
Yeah,
a decent.
right. Because it's like
Yeah.
I can't tell myself you're never gonna have Peruvian chicken again. Like that's terrible. Because then one, I
Yeah.
will, and then two, when I do have it, I'm gonna feel terrible about myself because I broke a promise to myself.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But no, so that type of dieting is like I'm over with that because I just learned it's like you can't say no to yourself. You can't say you're never gonna have this or
Right.
that
Right.
because it's a terrible way for your mind to like think because it's just all it's gonna be in there and it's gonna fuck with your mind.
Even The Rock, and he brags about it on Instagram. I
Oh
think
yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
Sunday has that 12, 18, 20 stack of pancakes.
Yep.
And he goes, this is my Sunday breakfast every Sunday. Without fail, I do cheat, or you're gonna freaking go nuts. And
Right.
he still maintains because
Yeah.
it's mind over. Really, everything's mind over matter. It is 90% diet, 10% workout,
Yeah.
but it's 99% mind over 1% matter. And
Definitely.
if you think it and if you think it and you concentrate it and you believe it and then you do it, you still have to do it. but it's like, it's that mindset. Okay. Because another fit actor, Stallone, I think was on a talk show. I don't know, Letterman or Conan or something years ago. But I saw him on there, and the guy was like, "You're like 55. How do you keep working? How do you stay so fit?" Because I work out every day, and I've made it to the point where I feel guilty for not working out.
Yeah.
So I get up early and I work out, because if I don't, I make myself feel shit about it. I eat, I still have fun. I'll have a cheat meal here and there. I'll go out with the wife and kids, but I make sure that I do what's important to me, and working out's important to me, because if I don't, I give myself shit about it. And that is the way to get things done. Because some people, going back to, doing what you love, and we love doing these productions, and even with the coronavirus, we found these ways to get masks on set and to get protective health and safety gear on set to complete the shows. That we love what we do. That's why we do it. It pays well. We are paying bills. We are, living off of what we're doing, but we love what we do first and foremost. And I also, was impressed with the fact that you did want to complete the season of this show. What was I forgot. This wasn't Dark Souls, was it? That I worked.
No, the one that you were in?
Yeah.
Well, yours was a pickup. The scene that we shot together was a pickup for True Conviction.
True Conviction. Yeah. True Conviction. Yeah. So of course, the thing is, you need to you still need to complete the season, so that there can be another season, so it can be aired. Let's try to hurry up, just rock it out, get some protective gear on set, make it work, make it happen, or the network might give up on it. And then I don't think that this is all hype, this Corona thing. I don't, absolutely not. It is important to stay safe, stay inside, especially now, obviously. I mean, the numbers are skyrocketing, but at the same time, what's going to happen in 6 months when we're done? And when was that picture taken, by the way?
I just took this off the internet.
Okay.
I just typed in, I typed in busy Tyson's Mall.
Okay.
And then that came up, and I thought it'd be hilarious just to like.
The good old days, right?
Right.
The good old days, but when we're stuck inside now, and we have to figure out how to retool ourselves to finish a script, or finish a book, or finish a passion project, finish editing a film we shot 2 years ago, which I also have the short film I shot 2 freaking years ago, but I've just been so busy with gigs because I had a wedding and I got a kid, and it's like, I'm going to edit this when I can, when I have some free time, but I got to take the gigs. I got to pay the bills. I got to save up money, this, that, and the other thing. Now's the time to knock everything out, so that when those floodgates do open, it's like, all right, I have all this shit written. Let's produce it. I have all this shit edited, stream it, put it out there, sell it, get it picked up by a network, things of that nature. Finish True Conviction season 3 right before the Corona quarantine, so that there is a season 4 and a season 5, and there's more work, and there's more work, and there's more work after the floodgates open. So it's always going to be this tricky balance, but yeah, I mean, I feel guilty every day. I don't finish a little bit of something on this, I feel guilty about it. Every day that I don't work out, I feel guilty about it. But at the same time, I have to remind myself, me personally, I'm in a kind of a separate, very special separate boat, where me and the wife just brought on this kid. So every 2 hours and 45 minutes, without fail, all day, every day, it's change a diaper, give him a bottle. He might go to sleep, he might not. 2 hours, 45 minutes later, change his diaper, give him a bottle. He might go to sleep, he might not. So on the freaking dot. Like I don't have to set timers. Well, she says to me, did you set a time? Like, no, I know. I think I know now that if he's crying, I'm going to change him. And by the time I've changed him, because he's always like wrestling and fighting, then it's like, might as well just give him a bottle, because Yeah, I do keep. And apparently, the wife just texted me. He's apparently he shit 3 times in the past 45 minutes. So she's been doing nothing but diaper changes while I've been on the air here. But so I mean, like that's the trick, is that try to pull away for an hour or two, pull off this podcast, because what else is going on? This is a great opportunity to talk to, fellow artists, fellow producers, actors, crew members, business moguls, like day traders, stock moguls, entrepreneurs, artists, teachers. I'm gonna have a teacher on later on this week about the whole new way that school's being taught. I mean, it's all on Chromebooks.
Nice.
I think it's all on Chromebooks and Zoom as well. I mean, Zoom's killing it right now.
Yeah.
I guess, which would lead me into my third point. Well, the second half of my second point is you already addressed it quite a bit with the fitness, with the fitness and the diet. But how else would you say you've been impacted personally? Say family, loved ones, significant other?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I live with my girlfriend, so luckily we've been here and kind of quarantining ourselves. Yeah, I haven't seen. I have a lot of family that's in here in Virginia. Some are like 20 minutes away, some are like an hour away, but I usually see them like every weekend. I usually like go and visit them every weekend, or we try to have something, or they come over to mine a weekend, and either we go out to DC or we order in or try a new restaurant. I love taking my family out to Korean barbecue. Love Korean barbecue. Yeah, man, it's been like almost a month now that I haven't seen them. I mean, I'm talking to them, and they're not the best with like video chat, so it's like just the phone right now. And I try to call them like every day or every other day, but it just sucks, man. It really does, because I have an aunt who I'm really close with. I have nephews, 2 younger nephews that are like 9 and 11, and they're just boys, and they're cool to hang out with, and they play a lot of Grand Theft Auto, and luckily we connect online sometimes on Grand Theft Auto because we just play online. And it's just a more fun way to interact with them. I have a niece. She's just turned 9. We actually had her birthday party here at our place, and it just kept it all family. And we took her outside. This is like earlier last month. We took her outside to fly a kite. I got her a birthday cake. Like, it was so much fun. I really do love spending time with my family. So that's definitely been like the biggest bummer, aside from like obviously not working and not getting paid.
Right.
Like the one that like really, really hurts is the fact that I haven't been able to hang out with family or friends. I mean, it's just, I miss that. Now, the good part to all that of not being able to hang out with the people that I usually hang out with is the other side, where I've actually been talking, or at least get into contact with people that I haven't talked to in a while, that I usually don't like text and say what's up, or like just, or call and stuff like that, or some people that I just haven't talked to in a while, and I've been, chatting it up with them. So that's been good. I just try to, again, I tried not to have this like just bum me out completely. So I find little ways of like, well, fine, I should check into this friend who I know from high school. I should check in from this friend who's who I know from college, and like, and I know, and at first there's always that like, oh, like, we haven't talked in forever. Like, is it weird? But it's like, if you just do it, people are like, oh, especially like not right now, people are kind of very open to just communicating and just being friends and being like nice to one another, and just actually showing some love. And so that's been good. I've been like contacting some friends that I haven't talked to in a while, and it's just it's good to know that they're good, they're doing all right, they're staying safe, they're I haven't had any friends like come at me like, oh, you're believing in this, and like, oh, this and that, and like, so luckily that hasn't been the case. So which makes me happy, which makes me think like, okay, my core group or something, they're pretty level-headed, they know what's up, they're not like just to being told what to do. Like they can think for themselves, but at the same time, they're like aware of the situation and what it can
Oh
be.
yeah.
And a lot of them are just like, you know, they have kids themselves, and they have like just you know what everybody has, just a whole different life unto themselves. And it's just nice to get in touch with those people that I haven't connected with. So that's been the good part. And obviously the bad part has been just not physically seeing people, friends and family.
Yeah.
And something that goes with the whole workout thing is like I just started getting back into like not only watching basketball but playing basketball. And that, man, I haven't missed something that much in a while. Not only just watching it, but just like playing it, because I love playing basketball. It's like I think it's playing basketball with a friend is like the best workout you can get.
Oh
like
yeah.
I rather do that every day than go lift weights or go run or go do whatever the hell. So I really miss that. I've missed like the being the physical activity with a group of people, with just friends and stuff like that. So yeah.
So, but what basketball are you watching?
Oh, I used to watch NBA. A big Wiz
Oh,
fan. I
used
mean,
to.
yeah, well, used to, because there's
Yeah.
nothing on. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'm now
No,
just watching
okay.
the History Channel, the old
Or
NBA
reruns.
games, the reruns.
ESPN reruns, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah. I had another colleague saying that, which will lead me to my next point. But I had a colleague saying, you know, I was a big ESPN guy, and now there's only so many reruns of a game I can watch, you know,
Yeah.
replays of a game. So I guess, yeah, that'll lead me into my next point. Is there a film, is there a series that you're binge watching? Is there
Oh, yeah.
maybe even a book or series of books that you're reading to pass the time, to kind of like, that stands out in your mind, and helping you cope, or just, you know, or just waste time?
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely, well, book wise, I have to, 1 second. I picked this up. I want to read this. I haven't started it yet, but Harry S. Truman, The
Uh-huh.
Truman Show.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big fan of what's it called? Biographies. I like biographies
Okay.
more than anything. So I aside from this one, it's a lot of the books that I own are just like comedian books, Tina Fey's book, Amy Poehler's book, Patton Oswalt's books and stuff like that. I have to dive into that. I haven't done any so far, but the show that I've been into right now, my girlfriend and I actually just dove back into 30 Rock. Have you watched 30 Rock?
I've seen maybe 4 or 5 episodes. I was never really into it. So 30 Rock, okay.
30 Rock, yeah. So 30, I mean, I loved 30 Rock back when it first came out. Because it's also very inside baseball when it comes to like production stuff. Like they have a lot of inside jokes that deal with that world, because it's about a show. The show is about a show. It's about a sketch show it's called The Girly Show, right? And then on the pilot episode, like the ratings are not good for the show. It's like an all women cast for a sketch show. The ratings aren't good. So the higher ups, the boss, which is Alec Baldwin, decides to hire a new person, a famous person, so he can get the numbers up. And then they get Tracy Morgan, or in that show he's named Tracy Jordan. And so he's in that world, he's a movie star, and he goes to the sketch show to make it bigger. And so they renamed the show TGS with Tracy Morgan, and Tracy Morgan's like the star, even though it's supposed to be an all-female cast sketch group. You know,
It turns out to be his show.
It turns out to be his show. Yeah. So it just starts with that, and then it's like it's kind of like, I guess it's like not a parody, but like it's kind of like a show of like the ins and outs of like, I guess, Saturday Night Live kind of. You know, because that's you know, the writer's room and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was my understanding, was that, yeah, it was a comedy. It was a comedy about like the making of an SNL-esque show. Yeah.
Basically. And it's funny that, and there was another show that came out like the same year, like the same pilot, but it was a more serious look at that world, and I think it was called like something 60 on the Sunset Strip. It had Matthew Perry.
Yeah, Matthew Perry in it.
Yeah, I forget the name. Something on the Sunset Strip. It was basically 30 Rock, but it was a serious version.
But it was serious, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it was okay. Like, it was okay, but it was like I much preferred 30 Rock because when it was funny, it was shorter, and it's also very saturated. It's a very colorful show. It's a very funny, like, jokes. It reminds me of like The Simpsons, because they just go joke. Like, every sentence is a joke. Like, the sentence is a joke, and then the paragraph is a joke in itself as well. That's what I really love about that show. So, and watching it back, it's like, man, they are so, like, the writing is so good. They did a joke about Bill Cosby before the whole Bill Cosby thing like blew up. Like, they did a joke about those allegations way before that thing was like blown up. And I was just like, dude, this is like 5-6 years before that whole thing like even
like they
happened.
jumped there
Not happened, but like when people like found out. And yeah, and like it was just like, and I just give him a lot of credit because, like, you know, back then it's like other people would be like, well, we can't say that about him because, you know, like this and that, you know. So it's just like, I think the writing in 30 Rock still holds up terrifically, and it's just it's like I said, it gets me in a happy mood because it's very bright, it's colorful. You know, it's not there's always laughs coming, like smart laughs and also like toilet humor laughs. They got both. They got highbrow and they got lowbrow jokes, which that's really what I love, because like I love both those kinds of jokes. I really, you know, I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, I only do highbrow. I only like puns and highbrow shit and blah blah blah. You know, like, or like, oh man, no, nothing makes me laugh more than just, you know, shit humor. Like, I laugh at both. I laugh at all of it. And so a show like that, they can kind of have both in it, I think is like great.
See, and that raises a point, because I mentioned The Office before. I think the funniest moments for me in The Office were Jim's pranks on Dwight, where throughout the whole series, his pranks got smarter, way more intricate. His pranks did, and it's so in and of itself, it's both stupid, childish prank humor mixed with very smart, like the whole CIA prank that he did to him.
Sending him faxes of this, like he's working for the CIA secretly. Yeah.
And then he was writing him letters from the future. And it's like they're really smart, intricate ideas, but at the same time, it's a stupid freaking prank.
Right.
And so,
but it works because of the characters.
It works because of the characters.
If they did that in like the first season or like the pilot, it doesn't work because we don't know who Dwight is.
As we don't know, we progress with Jim and Dwight.
Right. Now we know
the pranks progressed as well.
Right. So now it's like, oh, now we know that Dwight is gullible. Now we know that Dwight is a conspiracy theorist or whatever, you know. So now we know that. So of course these absurd things would work on somebody like him, right? Because of that character.
But the first prank that we got in the show was all of his office stuff in Jell-O.
That's right.
Yeah. But also it's not just he pooped in his drawer. He took the time to make Jell-O, mold it, put his stuff inside of it, put it in the fridge overnight, put it back in his drawer. And so the very first prank is still kind of smart and intricate, but not as super smart and intricate as like letters from the future or faxes from the CIA.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're right. So that first prank shows you Dwight hates pranks, and Jim pranks him, and Dwight hates it, and they hate each other. And so and back to 30 Rock, you know, I never really watched it, you know, all the way through or anything like that, but I do know you were talking about a joke within a sentence, a joke within a paragraph, and then a whole episode being a joke. And then the whole entire series, there's this joke where the guy had a different phrase on his hat. That one writer was wearing a different hat with a different thing.
Yeah.
And
Judah Friedlander.
Yeah. And apparently if you go back and write down everything that was on the hat,
It makes a whole
There's a
sentence, paragraph, story.
there's a whole story within his hat.
Really?
And I never, and that's the only reason why I want to watch the show now.
Oh wow! That's now I want to start from the beginning.
Is to somehow,
again.
yeah, is to somehow track down his hat. And
I bet there's a list. Though. I bet there's a list. On
there's
the
got to
internet,
be.
right?
There's got to be. And I never looked at it.
Yeah.
But you know, just by watching YouTube, it's like, you know, top 10 whatevers of whatevers, and I overheard something about the dude's hat in 30 Rock and how there's like this whole other thing going on with that.
And that's what I love about the show was like the attention to detail from
Yeah.
everybody, you know, from starts with the writers and then it trickles down to, I mean, the attention to detail is impeccable. And that reminds me of another great show, Arrested Development. Those were my two shows in 2006.
Arrested Development is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And
they were my top two shows. I was watching 30 Rock and Arrested Development all the time because they have a similar thing where like the saturation is, it's bright, it's always daytime, things are orange. Even the Arrested didn't black out, they white out. Instead of going to black, they go to white, which I really loved. I don't know why. It seemed more peaceful than just cut to black.
So the reason why I think that is that I don't know what they're trying to say, but in most common editing and direction with a lot of films throughout the decades, that means someone's going to heaven.
Okay.
So a cut to black could mean like someone died, or that's just the end of the story.
Yeah.
When they fade to white, that's like an ascension to heaven, to ascension to a higher existence.
Okay, sure.
Sort of imagery. So I've noticed that they always cut to white or fade to white after every episode. And so what are they trying to say? But I don't think they're trying to say anything to that extent. I think they just
I think they're just trying to make it different. Like
Yeah.
Every other show, it's always, you know, it's black first and then cuts to the show, and then at the end it cuts to black or fades to black. But theirs, it's just white and white. And yeah, the thing with 30 Rock and Arrested Development, at least for me, it was just that they're all, aside from joke, it's always like, aside from it being funny, it's always like a happy funny. There's never like, no one gets hurt, or the funny is not at someone's like expense. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's never, it's, I don't know. It's very, like, it just always, with those two shows, it's like, I'm guaranteed to not only smile, I'm guaranteed to laugh. I'm guaranteed to hear, and also guaranteed to probably catch something new that I didn't catch before. That's the beauty of it. That's what I love about those shows. That there's just so jam-packed with jokes, you miss things, you miss callbacks, you miss little puns, you miss little things in the background. Like it's and again, that goes to the attention to detail, and that's why I love those two shows.
And what I always enjoyed about their writing and then their jokes is that, for example, they do a lot of this sort of writing, this sort of jokes, and this sort of twists, where they got fed up with the banana shop, but the father, the matriarch of the family, was like, the money's in the banana shop.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I'll keep the banana shop running. And then they hate it, and then they hate it, and then it burns down. And the father's like, I said the money's in the banana shop. The money is in the banana shop. Right. And you're like, oh my God, this whole episode.
The turn of phrase is amazing. Right.
This whole episode meant nothing. Get the money, right? And that sort of thing. But another thing about this show is that, you know, episode 1, they did like the very first episode, they kind of did a flashback of how the family is, that and the other thing. And then yada, yada, yada. Episode 1 ends. Episode 2 has a flashback of shit we never saw.
Yeah.
They do like this quick, like catch up.
Yeah.
But it was almost like, episode 2 is really episode 3. They never aired episode 2. They just did a recap of episode 2. And so episode 2 is really episode 3. They do a quick recap, and you're like, when did all that happen? And then they jump into what's happening in episode 2. Episode 3 starts with a whole nother flashback of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
A bunch of crazy stuff that probably would have been funny, but they jam pack it in like 30-second flashback.
Yeah.
of stuff that happened between episode 2, episode 3, et cetera, et cetera.
And then they do the same thing at the end when they say on the next Arrested
And they
Development.
don't show that.
And they're exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they don't show it. It's just something, which I kind of liked. Like at first it bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, whoa, what happened to wait, I thought it was because my mind as a regular television viewer, that's how we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
It ends here and it will pick up from there, or if it's not a procedural.
Mm-hmm.
But when they did that, I'm just like, wait, what did they? And I mean, it goes to show you that it was. I guess it was. I mean, I can imagine how much more they shot. It was $1 million per episode that they were spending.
I think that's why it got canceled. Fox
Right.
was like, it's doing well, but we can't afford it.
I mean, I wouldn't even say it was doing well. It was getting like critically acclaimed and then won Emmys. But as far as as far as the numbers, no. And then what killed it, which I was so mad about it. They canceled it during the summer, or I guess the final 4 shows. They lined up the last 4 shows of the 3rd season, or what was the last shows in that year. They had it at the same time as the Summer Olympics opening ceremony.
Okay.
Nobody saw the last 4 episodes of Arrested Development.
Okay.
Nobody. Everyone was on Channel 4 watching the Olympics opening ceremony, not Channel 5 watching Arrested Development season finale 2-hour event.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah. I remember I was watching. I was like probably the only person watching
Arrested Development instead of
just crying.
I would have been.
This is it.
I would have been the same. I would have been the same one. Like I've never really been into sports. It's always been movies and TV and art and storytelling. And we could go on a whole nother 3 hours about this, but it's the same game. They're running up and down. I do like NFL. NFL is exciting. I will say NFL is exciting. My wife got me into NFL, but NBA, I'm glad that you like basketball, but I can't just watch them going back and forth.
But see, I like it because it's so fast. Like that. I mean, I like going to baseball games. I don't like watching a whole baseball game.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Unless it's like, the playoffs, the World Series, obviously, especially if Nats are playing. But I just don't like the fact that it's a little bit slow for me.
I can't watch baseball without and not really entertained by basketball, but
see, basketball. I feel like basketball is like you're gonna get an awesome 3-pointer. You're gonna get a sweet dunk. Like in every minute, you're gonna see something.
There's always a foul. There's always a foul. There's always foul shots. Even with NFL, and I think it's so exciting. There's always a freaking flag.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get an interception, and now the score is like 30-5.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, and just my opinion, basketball, it's always like 2, 4, 5. Oh, he made a 3-pointer. 7, 9, 12, 10. Oh, they're catching up. And it's within like a point or two.
Honestly, I feel like that's more like a lot of college basketball is like that, where they get like it's just a back and forth. They're up 1, they're up 2, the other team's up 1, the other 2. But when it comes to basketball, I feel like it's really awesome to see, and I've seen it in the Wizards' case when they come back when they're like down 30, and then they cut like in the second quarter, and then they come back. On the 4th, and then they go to overtime. Like that's exciting to see them go from like -30, and they just go on a 20-point streak, unanswered points. Like,
maybe I'm just not blessed to have seen like a comeback like that. Like I've seen football comebacks like that, overtime wins that are kind of exciting and intense. But I don't know. I just never really been. Basketball, though, I will agree with you, is a great workout.
It's the best, man. And I'm not great at it. I just love.
It's just a good workout.
Yeah, it's just a good workout. I love just, even if it's by myself, I'll just bounce the ball around and take a couple shots. Super fun, super great exercise. That's the one thing about it too. It's one of the few sports that you can kind of play by yourself. You can just get exercise by yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't it's hard to toss a football to yourself.
Right.
I mean, hockey by yourself. Who are you going to kick a soccer ball to unless you have a wall and you're just kicking it back and forth? But like, yeah, that's what I love about basketball. Cheap, you know.
Yeah, man. Which I guess this will bring me to my final major point, which is, what would you say is your next agenda or goal or set of goals or plan or set of plans for the next month or two? Because I'm pretty sure we're still going to be quarantined for the next couple of months. So what would you
Yeah.
say your next, agenda is?
Let's see. Right now, I think, and if it's like, yeah, within the month or two, I definitely want to start putting out my podcast, start
Okay.
getting a roll with that. I'm I'm trying to do a video podcast as well and just put it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically going to be just more about me. It's not health, it's not like fitness centric, but there's going to be some of that just because like I just do that. And I also like think it's kind of funny. Like I like to play around with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like to be absurd and like I want it's just this. I like pretending to have like way more confidence than I actually have. Like it's just a funny, to me it comes out funny. And so it's just going to be more about like me, my thoughts, my just absurd. I'm trying to make it between like 15 to 20 minute, like nothing too long, just so I can, and it's for me so I can just get used to doing it and churning it out, because I don't want to have like an hour, 2 hour long podcast. And then it's like, if I'm not going to be able to do that every week or twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I don't want to have a 2 hour thing. And then next week I have nothing. And then a month later is another hour one. And then 2 months off. And then 3 months later, so I just want to see if I can do between 15 to 20 minutes, try to do it weekly, maybe twice a week. And if I can get a good roll with that, well, then maybe I'll just get it bigger. So one is work on my podcast for sure. And two, the other goal for the next couple months is probably finish a couple of unfinished projects, whether it be finishing a script that I'm writing, or I'm putting some finishing details on 2 sketches that I wrote and shot already, or that I shot already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just that, and myself and Sherwin are working. You know Sherwin,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sherwin Santos, yeah. So he's I collab with him a lot, and so that's my main goals for this month for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you could close out with one point, one bit of advice, even one word for our viewers for the dealing with these times, one point of advice, what would that be?
I gotta say, I'm a bit tired of people kind of looking down at other people for just being outside, for just kind of like living their like you have to like. I guess my advice would be like, if you think you have to go do something, you have to be outside, whether it be work, like just be okay with like you're not trapped in your house. Don't, you're not going to step outside, breathe in a little something, and then suddenly like you're a goner. Like it's not, don't be terrorized by this. Like just, you have free will, and you should be able to do, like, just go. If you need to go grocery shopping, go grocery shopping. Don't feel bad about having to go grocery shopping to feed your family or to feed yourself. Or if you're gonna if you're getting delivery, don't feel bad for taking delivery, man. You can't just cook every day all day. Like I cook I cook 5 days a week. But weekends, it's like we're either getting something frozen or we're ordering out. It's just because we can't do it. Same thing with like saying that I'll never eat this. It's like I can't just say, I can't say I'm never going to go out. It's like you're going to go insane wanting to go out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my thing is just kind of like people should stop feeling bad for like getting delivery or going out to a restaurant to get takeout. I mean, yeah, the safer thing would be to cook at home.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest, you can't cook at home every damn day. Just go ahead and order. Don't feel like an asshole because you're doing it. Don't feel like people got to stop like attacking people because they're doing this or they're doing that. And I was like the same way where like a little bit earlier last month, like, I'm walking outside, I'm getting a lot of exercise, and I just see like two moms that with like three kids, and it's like, at first I was like, oh man, like, ladies, your moms, you guys should know better. Like, keep your kids away, and you guys should be separate. But it's like, at the same time, it's like, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't have kids. Who
Right.
knows how they've probably been quarantined for 30 days already, and they're about to go crazy. And then they just said, you know what? We're both been good. We're neighbors. Cool. Let's go. Let's take a quick walk. It's like, why should I be like, oh, look, I'm better than them because I'm staying safe? It's like, no, you don't know what the other person's like have to deal with, or like their life. It's just like, so yeah, I don't know. My advice would be basically just cut yourself a break or cut other people a break. Don't be so hard on yourself when you have to do things outside.
Yeah, to work off that. I mean, there's, like you said, there's definitely ways of people doing what they want to do, but in a safe manner.
Right.
I still go out grocery shopping. I still go to the beer and wine store and pick up stuff, and I wear a mask and rubber gloves.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of rubber gloves, and I wear the mask.
Yeah.
Hand sanitizer or Clorox wipes all over everything. But
Yep.
I still go out and go get, the little essentials that I think are essential. And we still take walks. And not only if you're doing everything safe for yourself, but respect other people's distance. So it's okay for me and the wife to go walk down the street, take walks and strolls, as long as we're staying away from, keep that distance, that 6 to 9 feet distance from other people that we see. Yep. When we're walking on this trail, it's your average size trail, but people do step off, and then I step off, and we're walking like off the trail away from each other. Then we get back on the trail when we're over here. Yep. And so, like you said, there's ways of doing the stuff we want to do that initially we might feel guilty about it, but don't, like you said, don't feel guilty about it. Just do it the smart, safe, healthy way.
Right.
Think about it and respect other people's concerns in that regard, so that they can go do it as well. They're not guilting you. You're not guilting them.
Right. There's people at the grocery store that are without face masks, and that's fine. That's your choice. I'm not like, oh, they're terrible people because they're not wearing face masks now. Like 2 weeks ago, they said you don't have to wear face masks. Now they're saying you should. So it's like, maybe that person can't even afford a face mask. Like, it's just like, yeah, cut each other a break, man. I think everyone needs a break nowadays, man. So it's like, why be hard on yourself? There's only so much you're in control with.
Yeah. The conditions are already hard enough. Don't be hard on yourself.
Right.
Yeah, well,
man.
Is there anything you, finally, are there plugs, links, socials that you want to put out for us?
Yeah, feel free. Anybody listening here, I know I was probably super funny during this podcast. You probably want to hear more. If you do, you can follow me I'm on Instagram at JHEISSON NUNEZ. That's JHEISSONNUNEZ. And I'm sorry for that, but if you do want to follow me, that is my Instagram. I'm sure if you just spell my first name, you'll find it. That's JHEISSON, and that's my same handle for Instagram, Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not very active on there, but I still post a few things here and there. What I'm mainly active is in just Instagram and Twitter, so feel free to follow me. I say a lot more absurd shit, by the way. Don't think that, and it's not all fitness related either. But I'm just saying, yeah.
Okay, and it's pronounced Jason.
It's pronounced Jason. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I promise. I swear.
All right. Well, links below in the description to all of Jason's links, his socials. Check out his podcasts, the other podcasts that he was on as well. Thanks for watching my podcast. You can like, subscribe, share, comment, thumbs up, thumbs down, ring the bell for notifications, and check us out next time.
All right, go on. Thank you, man. Great time.
Thank you.